Well, the summer after my sophomore year, I went to Honduras and Belize. And, like, before I went on that trip, I'd been thinking about doing, like, charity and nonprofit work overseas, which is part of why my parents, like, wanted me to go, and I wanted to go myself to just see if it was something that I actually could do, and to make sure that was something I wanted to do, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna pick something and this sounds cool, and then I graduate and I'm like, ugh. We went and it was for like 3 weeks, and we were basically hiking and backpacking through Honduras and Belize. Like we were traveling every day or two. Um, and so on this trip, we went to the Peace Corps headquarters in Honduras, and it was actually there that I was kind of introduced to the Peace Corps and kind of what they do in their work. And we actually met a couple Peace Corps volunteers in our travels, so that was just really neat to kind of witness that firsthand. So, um, like I said, it's kind of stuck with me ever since, and I mean I've wrestled with it some, but then I interned for headquarters this past summer, and that kind of sealed the deal. So. Well, I guess they've had a while to kind of ease into it. I mean, if my parents didn't support me, um, they wouldn't have allowed me to go on this Honduras Belize trip in the first place, or they wouldn't be supporting me now, just emotionally. But I mean, they're definitely nervous, and it scares them some. I mean, it scares me, because like when I told my mom when we got back from our trip that men stand outside grocery stores with machine guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom freaked out. So, like they're nervous, but I think at the same time they're excited, and they know that the Peace Corps is like an established enough program that if something happens, that I can get pulled out, or that I'll be taken care of.
Right.
So, well, actually, I'm taking American Foreign Policy right now, which is a class I don't need to graduate, but it's one of those, like, I guess foreign policy has always kind of fascinated me ever since I saw, like, I guess the results of it in Honduras and Belize, like from CAFTA, which is a Central America Free Trade Agreement, and just how I think that that's when it hit me that politics affects like every individual in the world, like especially American politics, because you don't even have to be living inside our borders, and your daily life is affected by policies that are made in Washington, D.C. And I'm also volunteering after school at the Sally Cone Elementary School, with their after school program, like tutoring, 3 or 4 days a week to just help, I guess, prepare me. And I'm currently looking at summer options, hopefully teaching or working with small children to teach.
Right.
So,
Right.
being at UCA has given me the preparation and some of the personal skills. I mean, as far as, it's kind of funny to look back at, yourself as a freshman when you come into school and you're just like, oh my gosh, like, what happened? Like, I've changed so much, and then it's like, thank goodness, So, I mean, I've faced a lot of challenges, like on SGA, and as a student and as an RA, and having responsibilities and juggling those things, but and I think that I've grown from them. But at the same time, I mean, I feel like college is kind of a utopia in the sense that we don't really see poverty in our everyday lives on college or in college. And so that's why I felt like it was really important, because before I started tutoring at the school, I was kind of like, should I take a year off? Because I feel like I should get more in touch with, society before I go overseas, and intend to help somebody else if I haven't even been able to relate with these people for 4 years. So, well, actually what happened was I went down, like I said, I went to Dallas for the interview, and my recruiter basically was, which I don't think this happens very often, but we finished with the interview, and he was like, okay, so from here, you either get nominated or you don't. And he's like, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm nominating you. And so he's like, if you're going to pick a program to go with, what do you want to do? Like, what kind of work? And so I told him I would want to work with children or youth, and we just kind of went from there.
Yeah.
So.
So how did that feel whenever he told you, like, just right there on the spot, you were going to be nominated? I mean,
It was a big feeling of relief,
yeah.
just because it's kind of like, you're like, I mean, for me, like, I've been tossing around, like, doing this for 3 years now, and so it's kind of just, like, relief to know that it's finally going to happen.
Right.
Or at least to be taking that next step and getting closer. So every Peace Corps volunteer spends 27 months in country. Basically, what happens is you'll go and you'll fly to an American city. So, like, for example, I know Washington D.C. is one. So say I'm going somewhere and my staging is in Washington D.C. All of the Peace Corps volunteers that are going to that country will meet up in Washington D.C. and we'll have one last day, or one first day technically, of training, and basically it's like just final paperwork, final, like travel information, that kind of thing. And then the next day you all go, you board the plane and you go to your country. Yeah. And so you get to the country, and then you have 3 months of training in country. So you'll like live with a host family, possibly with another Peace Corps volunteer that is in training with you, and you'll spend 3 months in an intensive language course, and also learning like cultural things. But then there's also like skills training according to whatever field you're going to work into, or going to work in. Yeah. But there's also training, like I believe it's like usually 1 day a month or something, where you'll go to like country headquarters and you'll receive additional training throughout your Peace Corps service. So after your 3 months is up of that initial like first in-country training, they send you out to your assignment. You stay there for 2 years. I guess there's a lot of like little parts that are in this. I mean, I've seen development work, and I think that what really works is the grassroots approach. Like, I think that that's the only way that we can really like beat poverty. At the same time, when we were in Honduras and Belize, you also realize that problems with the environment, problems with health, and overpopulation and stuff like that, like all of those things that contribute to poverty in these countries is education, or lack thereof. Because I mean, like, for example, you go to Honduras, the average person has a second grade education. There's no way that country can succeed in the grand scheme of things because of that education level. Right. And so, like, I just feel super blessed for having what I've had just because of where I've been born, and right. and for like where I grew up, and having a loving family that has supported me in my educational endeavors. Right. And so I just feel it's necessary and proper, and I feel compelled to kind of pay that forward. Right. And to do what little I can, to help someone else who needs it. Because I mean, relatively speaking, like, I know it's not possible for me to go and to change the world, in 2 years. Like, I don't have like that false hope that I'm gonna set the world on fire. But I do hope that if I can change one person's life, then that's what I want to happen. Right. So I think, well, one thing that I kind of look forward to from the Peace Corps experience is kind of living at a bare minimum. Like I said, you get like a living stipend when you're in the Peace Corps, and from what I've heard, you can live like relatively well compared to most people, like in your village, because they have nothing. But I mean, I guess I almost feel like there's so many distractions, in our everyday lives that kind of bring us away from things. So I mean, like, I really look forward to, spending time without, a TV or all of these things that aren't really necessary, and kind of just getting to the bare minimum and living contentedly. Right.